briefly cutting in the soprano saxophone fingerings. All the mouthpiece, all the embouchure stuff, all the breathing stuff, all the rhythm stuff, it's the same for soprano sax. So for those of you who are doing the soprano, I just want to take a moment to show you the fingerings, and so that's why I'm cutting this video into the other one, so that way before we get started, you can see me playing those notes. So alto sax players, just give us a second, and we will get right back to the alto sax stuff. But soprano sax players, here we go. So the three notes that you're going to be learning in this video session are D, C, and B flat. So that is D. So what you're going to have and what you'll notice is your fingerings require more fingerings at this point because the soprano is a higher instrument, so you're playing a little bit higher. So number one, thumb octave key, okay? You got all three of these buttons depressed. Don't mess with that one. These three, and then these two, okay? All that together gives you this beautiful D. Remember, good seal around the lips for an embouchure, for your embouchure. Okay, C. So, same as D, just one more finger. And then B flat. So you're going over, you're crossing over the use of the register key. So this is the register key. You change into the higher register. So you're going to go from, it's real simple, D to C, and all of a sudden you're going to abandon all fingers except one, your left middle finger, okay? So that kind of sounded like Mary Had a Little Lamb a little bit, but D, C, and then B flat. You lose the register key with B flat. Let's see if I can angle the camera here a little bit so you can see me play. So D, C, and then with no register key on my thumb, B flat. Okay, folks. So, soprano players, keep those fingers in mind, and as we go through the beginner band book, you can play along with us. So, thanks so much. Hi, everybody, learning the saxophone. This video, I'm going to go over some basic fundamentals. I say basic, but they are absolutely necessary for you to have a positive learning experience, learning how to play this awesome instrument right here. So the alto sax, and I'm also going to be covering the golden clarinet. No, I'm just kidding. This is the soprano saxophone. A lot of people say, hey, is that a golden clarinet? No, it is not. But it does sound pretty awesome, just like saxophones do, no matter what flavor they come in. So a lot of the basics for breathing technique, for embouchure, for how to hold your mouth, what to do with your tongue inside your mouth, tonguing, all of that stuff, putting the reed on the mouthpiece, that is all pretty much the same as the B-flat clarinet. And so, since I've already done the video for the B-flat clarinet, I'm going to splice in the section of that video where I go over all that stuff. So, so bear with me. I'm going to switch, like just very instantaneously in a moment, switch to the clarinet and talk to you about how to do all the basic foundational stuff and how important it is and how necessary it is with the clarinet. But don't get discouraged, don't leave, don't run away because you see a different instrument. It is exactly the same for the notes that we're going to learn today. So please view the whole video. It will be a very good opportunity for you to do something maybe a little different, maybe get a little stir crazy being at home day in and day out. So take your time, take a moment to just kind of get settled in, and so thanks for being part of this process. So before we get into some of our notes, I want to do a refresher on some of the fundamental things we talked about in the last video. And as you can see, the quality on this one's going to be a little better. Last time, honestly, all I had was a music stand
a cardboard box, and my cell phone. So hopefully now I'll upgrade things a little better. So remember, number one is breathing. Okay, so if you're breathing like this, you're going to be disappointed in the tone that you get out of your instrument. Now, obviously, I exaggerated that some with my shoulders, but what I want you to do is breathe just kind of in a natural way. Don't think about it. I know that's asking a lot after I just told you not to think about it, but do your best. Like, walk away, come back, and just kind of breathe normal. And what you'll notice is you actually breathe pretty shallow. You don't breathe nice and full and deep. Generally, we take small little, like, just kind of like that. But what you want to do is when you breathe, you can see the chest puffs out just a little bit. Shoulders rise some, but you want to breathe in 3 dimension, okay? And what you'll find is your lung capacity is not really what it needs to be to where breathing in a musically friendly way feels good. In fact, it may be uncomfortable a little bit, especially if you have some allergies going on or pollen, stuff going on with your sinuses. Breathing deeply may actually cause a little discomfort. That's okay. You need to push through it, do some exercises, and just breathe deeply. Another good way to think of it is, you're breathing in the flower, so through your nose, and you're blowing out the candles. So evacuate the air as quickly as possible. Be careful not to hyperventilate. If you do that a couple of times, you're going to feel lightheaded. But really what you want to do is you want to really flood your body with oxygen as part of your warm-up process to really get yourself primed. Because remember, playing an instrument, this is not just about you telling this thing what to sound like down here, but it's an extension of your physical body. So you are physically a musical instrument. The difference is, instead of using your voice to sing, this is your voice, okay? And so you're using some mechanics to produce a different sound that a singer would not be able to sing. So think of yourself as part of the instrument, and you are powering it with your lung capacity, you're powering it with your embouchure, and in order for all of that effort to be productive, make sure that your reed is on properly. So let's take a look. So last time I struggled showing you guys just how to do this, and so I want to do a couple of reminders on reed placement, okay? So remember, number one, your reed is a very fragile piece of wood. You can chip it. If it's cracked, if it's damaged in any way, it is no good. So I know they're expensive. They can be. Take care of your reeds. Soak them. Take care of them. They'll last longer if you care for them properly. Get a reed guard. Something like this, okay? This is a 2-reed reed guard. There are others out there. I have a 4-reed reed guard. They're really nice. You can even just use the one that the reed comes in. Generally, though, those are not as high quality, and they're a little more difficult to kind of wiggle their way in sometimes. And I've broken reeds getting them out of the reed guard that they came in, the wrapping. So just pick one up. Probably find one for a couple bucks on Amazon or at a music store. So take care of your reed. You obviously need to moisten it before you get started. So very simple. Just a couple of, I feel like they're just kind of common sense things. If you're drinking a sugary beverage, don't play your horn directly after. Go rinse your mouth out. Go brush your teeth. Do something. Gargle some hot water. Get the sugar out of your mouth. You don't want sugar in your horn, okay? That's going to degrade it. And if you're eating, I've seen people in the band at church whipping out chocolate, okay? That's not a good idea. I'm talking woodwind player, okay? If you're eating chocolate while you're playing your horn, the chocolate goes in the horn, okay? And it's going to cake in there and it's going to be nasty. Don't do that for whatever you do. Don't eat sugary things. If you've just eaten a meal, go rinse your mouth out. Get the food particles out of there. Some basic hygiene type things for your horn. Make sure that, okay, so I talked about those types of things. So what I want to do is kind of getting out of the shot a little bit here, but I want to show you the mouthpiece again. Okay, the mouthpiece, if I can get it angled in the lighting just right, you can see that there are
this flat surface here, okay? And what your goal is to get your reed perfectly centered on this flat surface with just a little sliver, like a crescent moon sliver, tiny, like if you know when you clip your nails, assuming you clip your nails when they're an appropriate length, they're not 3 inches hanging off your hand, but just like so, maybe girls maybe not that length, but like think of a guy. Okay, so like when I clip my fingernails, there may be like a 1/16 of an inch or like an 1/8 of an inch, just a little sliver of nail, less than that. Okay, it's a very tiny amount. And so really what's helpful, which sometimes the way our band stands are at church, usually I notice the stand is way too low, so people are having to look down like this at the stand. It's not good embouchure. It's terrible for breathing, and you can't sometimes, depending on where you sit, you can't really see the director and the music very well. So just a general tip for everybody: lift your stands up some. You don't if you're having to lean over and slouch over to read your music, you can't breathe properly. And if you're not breathing properly, you are starting behind. You are setting yourself up for failure and a terrible sound on your instrument. And you could be a phenomenal player, but have terrible, tonal quality because your breathing is bad. So, placing the reed on the mouthpiece, which I don't know how well you can see this, but what you want to do is, and I'm talking to the very, very beginners here. I know some of you are probably thinking, oh my goodness, we just get on to the 3 new notes already. But we do have some very newbie beginners. So if you want to fast forward a little bit, now I'm obviously the honor system here. Don't fast forward when you really need to hear this. So the reason I brought up the music stands is because a lot of times, I remember when I was learning in school, I'd be sitting in my chair, I'd have my music stand there, nice white sheet of music, and I would just kind of prop my clarinet up on my leg, and I would just use the white background, the black mouthpiece against that white background. Made it really easy to see just where my reed was at, okay? So once you get your reed on, I like to hold it with my thumb while I'm putting the ligature on. Now, please be very careful, especially if you have a metal ligature. But even if it's a synthetic or leather ligature as well, or like one of these single screw type, this is a great opportunity for you to damage your reed. I mean, I'm being a little funny there. It's not a great opportunity, but it's very easy to do if you're not careful. So with your reed secured in place by your thumb, you're just going to gently make sure, be thorough, to pay close attention to detail. You're going to slip the ligature down. Notice from the screw is going to be on the right. So when you're putting your ligature on, make sure that the screw is on the right side. So think if I'm looking that direction, it's on my right. So when you're looking at your clarinet, the screw generally is going to be on your right. And so whenever you put your ligature on, a lot of times your mouthpiece will have like little lines on there. Generally, the ligature is going to be below the top of that ligature is going to be below that. Also, make just a kind of if you don't have the lines on your mouthpiece, maybe your ligature has a little bump, like you can see here, maybe barely with the camera the way it is, but there's this like little flap. I just center the reed up with that. Basically, remember the goal is to get your reed perfectly flat and centered on the mouthpiece, with just a little sliver of mouthpiece viewable from the top. You gotta remember, the way this is working is you're blowing a stream of air like this into the mouthpiece, and you have, I'm gonna put my horn down right quick. You have a reed that is sitting on top of a mouthpiece, okay? So imagine it's like this, okay? And when you blow, you're forcing this reed right here to vibrate, okay? And the vibration of that reed is what's giving you sound. So just like your vocal folds in your larynx, in your throat, they're together like this, and whenever you push air through them, that forces them to kind of open up like this, and then they do that so fast that it causes vibrations in the air. That's how you hear someone talk, and if they can control that well, they have a beautiful voice. And so what we're trying to do is we are trying to control how that reed vibrates against the mouthpiece. And if you can control that well with your breathing, with your reed placement,
and with your embouchure, then you are set up to play these 3 notes that I'm about to teach you very well. So, embouchure. Okay, before we even get to the notes, embouchure. I talked about these things in the last video, but I'm repeating them because if you don't have these fundamentals, you are not going to be a very high quality player. And I'm not being mean, or I'm just being honest. Going through school, the students that I sat by that took seriously the breathing and the embouchure, they were the top players. The ones that kind of did what it, this is how they'd look. They'd sit there, kind of around, you could tell they were kind of hunched over. They didn't have a lot of energy about what they're doing. They're just kind of there. Those were generally not the very, very good players, because in order for you to be a good instrument player, you have to very much so be present with what is your body doing, breathing wise. Remember, 3-dimensional breathing. So you're breathing out the chest. You can see my back even goes in a little bit. You're breathing deeply in 3 dimensions, not just up. Okay, and you want to really open up your throat. Okay, and so you want to build that embouchure. Part of your embouchure is also, what are you doing in your oral cavity? What are you doing with your tongue? What are you doing with the back of your throat? All of these things shape your sound. The more open you are, like that oh kind of sound, the more you are that way, the better off you're going to be. And a really good trick, let me get something over here. I'm going to have to step off camera to do that. A really good trick, I'm getting my swab, so go ahead and get your swab out, okay? This is what you're going to do. Take your swab, and you're going to take your swab, and you're going to cram it in the bell of your horn, okay? Cram it in there. And then what you're going to do, this is a good breathing exercise, by the way. And it's a good open up your oral cavity, open up your chest, open up your mouth, open up everything, because you want a nice, big, resonant sound. A lot of times clarinet players, they sound kind of wimpy and scared, and it's because they're not having that big, full, robust airflow going through them. Sounds silly, but I'm telling you from experience, it makes a difference. So you get your horn like this, and what you're going to do is you're going to put all your fingers down, all your buttons down, and you're going to blow. And what you're going to do is, first of all, really no air is going to come out. But what happens is all that air pressure, it forces your throat open, forces everything open. But you want to relax your tongue, because if you just blow really hard, but you're all tense on the inside, it's not going to do its job. So you want to be very open, very big. So kind of like you're blowing up one of those little tiny little water balloons, and they're like impossible to blow up. That's what you're shooting for. So do that after a while, and then take out the bell, take the swab out of the bell, and then you will feel more so what it's supposed to feel like, having a nice open feeling and everything. So, basically the difference sounds like this. Okay, it's kind of like a whiny, kind of like a, I don't know, it just doesn't have a lot of good tone to it, something like this. Volume difference, am I blowing harder? Not really. But I'm having more air power move through. So people who play like this, and you hear how that woo, 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 that like wavering sound, you hear people do that, and the reason is because they are clenched up and they're so tight, and they're trying to force the sound out of their instrument that they don't even have good control of their embouchure, so you hear that wavery sound. So big, open, full. And then you can't see this, but in my mouth, my tongue, if you can kind of imagine like an S shape, but like on its side. So kind of like, I'm doing a terrible job with my hand. I'm trying to kind of give a good idea. Imagine this is the back of my tongue by my throat. Kind of roll that up a little bit, and it's almost like a slide. So what you want is kind of like get the tongue out of the way a little bit, and imagine you're on a youth trip, and you're going up the roller coaster, like ching 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 ching, and you finally get to the top, and then you go down the big hill, whee, down the big hill. That's what your air is doing as it goes out of your mouth. It's like ching 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 ching. It's coming out of your lungs, going up through your larynx, through your pharynx. That's the fleshy bits in the back of your throat, the pharynx, that oral cavity. It goes up and it gets to the top of your tongue, and then woo, like a slide flies down into your horn, and this beautiful music comes out that everybody can enjoy and get into the spirit with. Because remember, this is a spiritual operation first and foremost, and so we want to have good technique and good skill, but we want to play joyfully, but with skill. So that's what we're trying to impart to you with these band videos. Okay, so embouchure. So I talked to you about how to open up. I talked to you about embouchure. We're about to talk about embouchure. Talked about reed placement. Talked about breathing. All those good things. Okay, now let's talk about how to hold the instrument with your embouchure. So with your lips. So in your teeth. So some people tend to bite down on the instrument. That's gonna really disallow you from having a quality sound. That was just a leaky air sound, because when I'm biting on the reed, I'm not allowing this action to happen. Like we talked about earlier, the vibration can't happen. So no biting on the reed. Now you can rest your top teeth on the mouthpiece. You can do that, but you don't want to just bite into it, okay? You really want the fleshy part of your bottom lip kind of rolled over. I'm going to get a little close here because you really got to see it, okay? So if you don't see a good example of an embouchure, I can't just explain it to you. So what you want to do is chin flat, okay? What you want to do on the sides of your, like on the sides of your mouth, you're trying to bring them in as tight as possible. So pinching them in. So remember, and if you watched the last video, I talked about doing the embouchure exercise QT. So like the word cutie, or the letters Q and T. So Q, T, Q, T. I know it's silly. I look crazy right now. I'm doing it for you. Q, T. Practice that. You can do repetitions. Like people who exercise, they do reps. Do 10 reps. And go, and what you want to do is you want to count through it. So like in your mind, you go like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you want to bring it in, bring it out. If you're just sitting there going QT, 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 that's not doing you any good. You're just practicing saying cutie, okay? That's not helpful. You want to really make sure you're actually working the muscles. Just like when you breathe, it feels unnatural because you're forcing your body and muscles, you're forcing your rib cage, all these body parts to move in an unnatural way. Same thing with your embouchure. You're forcing these muscles that normally you just use them to speak or eat food. That's pretty much it. You're not really doing a lot with these muscles, so you're exercising. So imagine, so basically you are now a bodybuilder, except the only parts of your body you're building are your mouth muscles and your breathing muscles. That's what you have to think about. You have to be disciplined with exercising these things. And what you'll find out is if you breathe properly and you have proper embouchure, it doesn't take as much effort to play your instrument. And then it's more enjoyable, it's more fun. And then you can really have a good time worshiping the Lord and blessing God's people with the talent that He's given you. But it takes work and effort. So don't get discouraged. Just when you're feeling bad about your exercise, just come back and watch me make crazy faces on this video and make you laugh. So, okay, putting the mouthpiece in your mouth with the embouchure set proper. So you got kind of a firm upper lip. Your mouth is pinched in. Your chin is flat, okay? Like this. And then you are ready to play. Okay, now it's gonna feel funny at first, and you maybe have kind of a kind of awkward. But what you want to do is you want to get to a place where placing this instrument in your mouth, it's like you meld with the instrument. You and the instrument are now one. Okay, it is not it's not like you're sticking a fork in your mouth with food and it's like, oh, I'm just using this as a tool. I'm just using this as a utensil. Okay, this is not a fork. Let me repeat, this is not a fork. Okay, I'm being a little silly. But what I'm trying to say is you are not just, you're not doing something to this horn to make it do something. You're interacting with this horn as, you know, you are manipulating this horn. And so when you place it in your mouth, if you have this really just uptight, like, oh, brother Lloyd told me to do my mouthpiece, my embouchure like this, so now I'm just stuck like that. Now, once you get it set, you put your instrument in your mouth, and then you make sure that your embouchure is making a very good seal around this mouthpiece. Okay, and so a lot of times what happens is you start playing, you play a long time, and then this starts having a. I don't know if you could hear all that air coming out, but earlier, like I said, you don't want leaks happening with your tone holes. If you have air leaking from your mouth, your instrument is not performing very well and you're having to work. So, when you begin, if you are doing proper breathing and you are doing proper embouchure exercises and you are playing and you're practicing and you begin to get weak and you begin to leak air, you need to take a break. Do not push through. Pushing through is not going to help you. Take a break. Let your mouth rest. Some let your embouchure reset. Go kind of smile big and make crazy faces. Kind of get your muscles loosened up. Kind of just relax. Good time to read your Bible. Let your mouth relax. Let the Word of God come in your mind. Okay. If you have a leaky embouchure, your tonal quality is going to be pretty bad. So, you practice the embouchure. You practice using it with the mouthpiece. Don't just do the embouchure, stick the instrument in, start blowing. You got to think detail oriented. You got to think how is what I'm doing affecting this horn, and if you are causing it to have a very good air seal around this mouthpiece, thumbs up for you. Okay, so that pretty much covers the basics on how to actually play the horn. So let me look at the time here: 24 minutes and 15 seconds. So that's a good amount of time. But what you have to understand is when you're in a I guess you say a not a professional learning setting, but in a proper learning setting, like in public school, you have people that went to college on their instruments teaching you how to play properly. Like, they learned from people with very high degrees and a lot of experience playing these horns. So the first lesson we did, I was in 6th grade, there was no instruments. We had our instruments, we were ready to roll, and said, okay, get out your mouthpiece, put your reed on, and I obviously went through the steps, how to put it on properly, and this is what we did. And we went one by one, and we checked, and the band director checked to see, do we have proper embouchure on our horn? And he liked to say, this is a good way to kill cockroaches, and it's true, because, if you ever do this, that is like, if you're into duck hunting, maybe this is a good substitute, but I say practice with your mouthpiece, maybe add the barrel, it'll make the tone a little bit deeper. And you need to practice your embouchure on just the mouthpiece. And we're back. So, alto saxophone, pretty much the same. I'm not going to say pretty much the same because this is clearly a different instrument. It's metal for one thing. And you don't have tone holes. Well, you have tone holes, but you don't actually have to cover anything with your fingers. Like the clarinet actually has holes you literally have to cover with the fleshy bits of your fingers. This bad boy gives you buttons to press, so it's a little bit easier to learn in that regard. Also, the mouthpiece is huge compared to the clarinet, and the reed as well. So, playing it, your embouchure does not have to be as uptight as with the clarinet. I say as uptight. You still need to have a strong embouchure. If you have an uptight embouchure, you're probably not going to sound very good. You're probably going to sound something like. So you notice how it just kind of sounded horrible. You want to remember that you're trying to use my hands as an example here. Reed, mouthpiece, okay? Reed sits on the mouthpiece like this. You blow air this way. So imagine there's like a giant person right here, and your hands are in their mouth, and they're blowing. You're the mouthpiece, and you're trying to get this reed to vibrate on that mouthpiece, okay? So in order to do that, air actually has to go through or pass over the reed to force it to vibrate on the mouthpiece. And you can't do that if you have air leaking from around your mouth. So make sure that you have a good seal, a good embouchure. You need to practice without the rest of the instrument. So, unscrew or loosen the screw for your neck joint. Take this dude off here and practice with just the mouthpiece. You're lucky because unlike with the clarinet, it sounds like you're trying to kill a bunch of cockroaches. It's so high-pitched, squealy sound. This actually still kind of sounds good. It's a saxophone. It's a cool instrument. Of course it's going to sound good without the whole instrument, right? It's kind of built in. Did a little vibrato there, just kind of being fun. Don't do vibrato yet. You need to learn how to do a nice,
solid embouchure before you start venturing into the other more like artistic and kind of getting more feeling into your playing. Just get the basics down. You got a whole lifetime of playing, and who knows, maybe they'll even be alto sax in heaven, so it might be forever. So just take your time, learn it right, and you're gonna sound awesome. The saxophone is such a fun instrument to play, but if you don't do it right, if you don't do the work now, you're not gonna sound awesome, and you're not gonna have as much fun because it'll be a struggle. It'll be an uphill battle the whole way. So do yourself a favor, follow my instructions. You'll be better for it. I'm telling you from experience, okay? I'm telling you. So practice on mouthpiece with the head joint before moving on to the actual instrument. Okay, so the notes we are learning today are going to be 3 of them. We're going to learn D, C, and B flat. Okay, so in addition to open, which is G, or not G, sorry, E, open is E, told you that in the last video. You'll have 4 notes under your belt at the end of this video. And not only will you have 4 notes under your belt, but you will know how to sound amazing on those 4 notes. So remember, quality, not quantity. I know some people, they get so excited, they just want to learn everything, and I just want to play the horn, I just want to... Well, you need to slow it down, okay? You don't need to... There's so many notes. You don't need to learn them all right now. Just learn how to play 1 note very well at a time, and eventually you'll get the gist of it. You'll get how to do all the breathing and the mouthpiece and the embouchure and all the tonguing and all that yada yada. You'll get that down. You can start adding more and more notes. Maybe even starting to play by ear some. Adding a little bit of here and there, kind of getting your extra little flavor in there. You start feeling the Holy Ghost. You can start really playing on this thing, and it just feels so good. That's what you want to get to. But you can't get to that if you're frustrated or you're not confident because you got such a your tonal quality is lacking, shall we say. So we're in the beginner band book that you received from Sister Goolsby, and you should have your fingering chart out as we do this and your beginner band book. If you are missing these items for whatever reason, please get in contact with Brother Goolsby so that way you can follow along. So also recommend, if you have a cell phone or if you just happen to have an actual metronome, yes, a physical device that is not on the cell phone, make sure you get one that's a tuner metronome combo. This will help you tremendously with your studies. All right, let's get to it. So, going to number 1, which is going to be your first note. Well, open E was technically your first note, but your first note with fingering is going to be D. All right, so it's going to warm up just a little bit here, get everything going. So. So, D is this button right here. Not that one. Hands off that one. Not that one. Wait, no. This weird little one down here. Don't even worry about that guy. It's this one right there. Okay? So, set your embouchure nice and tight. Remember, flat chin, pinching the lips, kind of like rolling your top lip over a little bit. Place the reed not on the teeth, on the fleshy part of your lips. So you're kind of doing like this kind of thing, like this. I know it looks a little silly. Bear with me. I don't know how else to show you without just showing you. So, put your teeth on the mouthpiece. Don't bite down on it. You don't want to put your reed in a bind. If you remember, I gave you this example. If you put it in a bind, it's like screaming and yelling to get out of there, and it can't though. It's just in a bind. It can't vibrate. So you breathe nice and deep. Remember, I showed you. So 3-dimensional breathing. Not doing this. That's normal. That's what you do when you've worked out too hard or you ran too much and you're hyperventilating. No, you want to breathe out and up. So obviously I'm breathing like really intense right there just to make the point. But just remember, when you breathe, your chest should be coming out more than usual and your shoulders should be staying down more than usual. Okay. So in the beginner band book, we're going to play 4 notes of D 4 notes of rest. Playing a rest sounds funny, but we're going to play a rest. 4 notes of D, 4 notes of rest. I'm going to have my metronome set to 60 beats per minute. That means 1 beat per second. There's 60 seconds in a minute. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. You did great. Moving on to C. Same process. We have B. I'm sorry, not B. We have D and then C. Remember, you're skipping this weird little button down here. Don't even worry about that. Act like it doesn't exist. D and C. All right, here we go. Remember, nice open, open. If it's all tight, then you're gonna have a tight sounding, like this nasally sounding sound, and the saxophone should have this big, robust, full volume sound. So just open everything up, open the throat, open the mouth, get that tongue shaped like I was saying in the clarinet video. So we're gonna do 4 beats. Here we go. Doing C. So that's these 2. Oh, and remember, when you're resting your thumb, make sure not to hit the register key. We're not there yet. All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3, breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Okay. Moving on to number 5, B flat. So we had D, we had C, and now just one more finger makes it B flat. So these 3 fingers are your friends today. All right, gonna do 4 beats on, 4 beats off. I'm gonna change the tempo just a little bit, actually a lot. I'm gonna double the speed since we're doing whole notes, doing 120 beats per minute now. That means 2 beats per second. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of like that. So we'll do 4 beats, rest beats, 4 beats, and then rest. All right, so B flat over here. And remember, whenever we're not using these lower tone holes, so when you're holding your instrument, you're just kind of letting it hang out. Just really most of the weight is going on that thumb rest right there. So, and also remember your neck strap, you should have it, I'm turning the spectrum off real quick. Okay, your neck strap, you should have it tightened such that the mouthpiece fits comfortably pretty much at a 45-degree angle in your mouth, with your chin pretty much parallel with the soles of your shoes if they were flat on the floor. So flat with the floor. So imagine your chin is level with the floor. And see how it comes out, kind of like at a 45, a little bit degree, like at an angle. That's pretty much what you want. You don't want it, I mean, unless it's very loose. You don't want it like that. You don't want it like that. So get it nice and tight where it's comfortable. You shouldn't be having to like hold your horn. You shouldn't be having to like pick it up to play. And so just make sure that you are comfortable with your neck strap. If you can, spend a little extra money on one. They make some really cool, comfortable ones. This is kind of just a cheapy one that is actually my grandpa's, so I use it, sentimental value. But yeah, they have some really nice ones out there that are easy to zip up and down too. Okay, B flat, 4 beats, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, rest, rest, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sorry, I was actually looking at number 6, not number 5. We're on number 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, breathe. Ooh, see, that was a bad start. Actually, I'm glad I made that mistake because it shows you what can happen if you're not breathing well before you start. Something I covered a lot in the clarinet video, and I want to make sure that y'all get it here too, is when the band director is counting off the song, the beat before you play, you need to take that moment to do a nice, full, three-dimensional breath. Okay? Really get the chest puffed out, shoulders not lifting too much. You're filling this whole... Remember, your lungs, they expand like a balloon, 3 dimensions. So they're not just going like up, out a little bit. They're going fully out. And you got 2 of them, which is great. So, a lot of air can be produced. It really helps your tone. So, make sure you get a good breath before you play. So, let's try that again. So, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, breathe. But this time, I'm actually going to breathe so I don't make another mistake. Hopefully, me making a mistake makes you a little more comfortable. Mistakes can be made. That's okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So you get the idea. Just 4 beats on, 4 beats off. I did a little tonguing there at the beginning. Just another opportunity for you to hear how tonguing is supposed to be done. It's easy to overdo it. It's easy to not do it. It's easy to try to do it like this. So, trying to tongue with your breath, that doesn't really work. It's tonguing for a reason. Just a little that. Imagine you've got a, if you've ever eaten a really cold popsicle and your tongue gets stuck to it, and then in your distress or just being in a hurry, you kind of remove it too quickly and a little comes off, That thin, that's gross, sorry, but that thin little layer of skin, imagine that's just tapping your reed. And that's what you want, that's what you're looking for. Okay. Remember your fundamentals. I know it's not fun, necessarily. Maybe some of you think it is. I know it's not super exciting when I say stuff like, you got to be disciplined. But what you got to realize is you have the capability, you have the ability to create a phenomenal sound, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of times people don't. And I don't know, my assumption is because maybe they just didn't have the information given to them, or maybe they just didn't, they don't feel confidence in their playing. And so whenever they go to play, the saxophone's kind of a loud instrument. You don't want to overplay, you want to be balanced with the rest of the band. But I want you to have confidence in your playing. I want you to have confidence in your playing ability. That is so important. If you believe in what you're doing, the Lord can really move through your playing. I mean, imagine someone gets up to talk in service, testify or preach or something, and they get up there and they're just kind of being humdrum about it. They don't have any confidence. It's going to be kind of hard for you to really believe what they're saying. It's going to be difficult for you to really feel something off of them. Because it's kind of like, where are you at with this? Are you confident? And so, same with you. So when you learn these fundamentals, embouchure, breathing, reed placement on the mouthpiece, setting up your ligature the right way, making sure it's all straight and everything, taking at least 15 minutes a day to practice your instrument, and in addition to that, your embouchure exercises. Remember the QT thing I was telling you about? The QT. I know it's silly. You look maybe kind of crazy a little bit. Do it when you're like off by yourself. You're reading your Bible. You can do, just start doing this as you read. If it distracts you because you start laughing, just, keep reading your Bible. But it's something simple you can do. Don't let somebody discourage you. If someone's kind of like snickering, or someone in your house is kind of poking fun at you for doing it, that's okay. It looks silly. It does. But don't let that discourage you, because you really want a strong embouchure. You really want these corner mouth muscles to be strong. So, because imagine it's like your mouth is a rubber band, and you want that rubber band to be tiny, and you want it to be tight to keep an air seal on this mouthpiece right here. Okay. And if it's more like this shape, because your mouth is naturally more of an oval shape. If it's more like this, guess what's coming through the sides? Air. And if you have leaky air, then essentially you have a leaky instrument. It'd be like one of your pads being off, and it's going to produce a very bad sound. Remember, you are part of the instrument. This is not just something that you're like sticking in your mouth and just blowing air into. It's not like you're a fork. You just, you're eating with a fork and you don't think much about it. You just stick it in, poke it in, stick it in, poke it in. It's not the same way. This is, you are the instrument. This assemblage of metal and pads and glue and wood and everything. That this is just the thing through which you channel you as the instrument, your air, how your embouchure is. All that is that's where the sound starts. So I want to encourage you, take advantage of this time. I mean, with things slowed down like they are, you have so much time to really get in there and experiment, play, and do well. But don't overdo it. I mean, if you're practicing and you're finding your leaky air, just stop. Just walk away for an hour or two. Come back to it later. Don't wear yourself out, but just 15 minutes a day, and you will be really good. I mean, it's really not that much time. So you figure 15 minutes a day between two of actually practicing. So figure, 20 minutes, 25 minutes before by the time you get your horn out, put it together, get all set up, get warmed up, and you start playing. Then 15 minutes. So really probably more like 30 minutes total. So just go ahead and do that, and you will be better for it. So remember, you get out of it what you put into it, and that's true for everything in life. And so remember, do this as unto the Lord, where you are learning how to bless God's people. It is an honor and it is a privilege. And stay encouraged during this time of all the social distancing and everything. Stay encouraged. Read your Bible. Pray. Get with your friends however you can. FaceTime, call, text, whatever. Your friends. Stay in contact with people. Don't get off by yourself. This is a good way of doing it. Just doing your beginner band videos and doing all these types of things. So God bless you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. We'll do Mary Had a Little Lamb next time. So thanks so much.